Welcome back to another episode on Journey to Authenticity, a podcast helping you to become fully authentic on your journey to success. I'm your host, Braiden Belnap, and I'm a human just like you, striving to build a dream life, all while I stay true to myself. But what if you're in a position of trying to keep control over your life, from the good and the bad, to the point it's actually starting to hurt you, emotionally, physically, spiritually? That's exactly why we have Jonatan Castro joining us today. In his life, he experienced his mom being deported back to Guatemala, creating for his father and his siblings to go back to Guatemala as well. He decided to stay here, really get to know who he truly was, learning how to detach from the good and the bad, and letting life just be. He started to live through a lens of life happens for me, not to me. And in turn, he became a reggaeton artist and really living out his dream. With that in mind, welcome to the show, Jonatan.
Thank you for having me here, bro.
Absolutely, man. This is an exciting time. Shout out to Casey for...
Shout out to Casey. Where are you, Casey? Make me a video.
Absolutely. He's a good guy, man. Right now, when we're shooting this, there's a lot of recalls on eggs.
What? On eggs? Oh, yeah. I saw that.
And we have chickens. So
okay. That's what you
started.
Posted.
Yeah. And he's like, bro, I would buy those for $100 right now.
Oh, he posted something too. He's like, I just want some pastured eggs.
Exactly. Anyways, man, just to jump right in, what inspired music for you?
That's a good question. I think that it just kind of naturally, I had it in there. My mom was she was a big person into singing in the church when she grew up like in a place for nuns and stuff. So she picked up the music stuff there, and then naturally I think that just kind of fell into place for me. But I didn't really discover it until I went into elementary school, and there they had me I don't know if they ever did this with you in elementary school, where during Christmas they'd have you sing like Christmas carols and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I would do that with all my classmates, with like the whole first grade. And then whenever they'd ask to volunteer, hey, does anyone want to do this alone? Like to do a little piece of a track alone? And I'd be like, me, And so after that, I realized that I really liked singing just because I just felt good doing it as a kid. And so since then, I kind of had that habit. And then, that's pretty much it. I think after a while, after I started getting older, I heard the Backstreet Boys.
Okay.
So this is when they first started coming out. So this is what inspired me to sing. To do rap was a whole totally different thing. But as funny as it sounds, because I'm Latino as hell, but like the Backstreet Boys were the ones that really got me into it. I love their singing. And so I started singing a lot of their music. And then I jumped into like reggaeton and rap and stuff. After the Backstreet Boys, I took like a total 360 and listened to G-Unit for the first time. And Dr. Dre and all that. That's what got me into like rap. And then I got into reggaeton when I ran into a Daddy Yankee CD. And so Daddy Yankee was the one that kind of got me into that direction.
Dude, Daddy Yankee, even though I don't know what he's singing, even though I don't know what you're singing, it's hard not to listen to. It's good music.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah. So I guess I got the same reaction when I first heard of him. I knew I liked singing. I liked it, but I didn't really see myself doing that right now, what I'm doing now. At that moment, I didn't see myself doing it. I was in love with doing it. It made me feel good. But then I ran into Daddy Yankee, and he's the one that impulsed me to jump into doing music. Like, I was like, dang, it sounds so cool. It sounds aggressive, the reggaeton genre. It sounds sexy, it's like really... it's just aggressive, and then makes you feel like a gangster, So I like that. So I went for that, and I got addicted to it, and I'm like, I'd like to do that one day.
So what age were you when you had that impulse to be like, hey, reggaeton it is? And you say reggaeton way better than me. I don't know.
No, reggaeton is good. That's the English version, but it's reggaeton. Spanish. But you don't have to roll your R that crazy. It's okay. Yeah. I think it was at the age of, I want to say 16 when his first album came out, around that age. It was Barrio Fino, which is a fine the fine hood, you know. And so that was the age when it started opening up. And at that time, there was no technology like the way that we have it now. So like it wasn't accessible that easily. Like finding a studio was really hard because they were expensive back in the day. And to buy all the equipment was really expensive. And we were just a bunch of 16-year-olds trying to figure stuff out. It was me and one of my best friends that started a duo at first. And, oh man, when we did I did like a first demo when I was little. I did it when, I was 16, and then I would come all the way here to Salt Lake. I was still living in Ogden, so I drive miles to go here, record in the studio. And since we weren't making that much money, we're like, nah, we can only record for 3 hours. That's all we got enough for. So we'd record for 3 hours, and we'd record really good. And that's how kind of it started. So yeah, I'm thankful for those experiences. They were good.
It's really like, good. Man, if I suck, at least I'm sucking with somebody else.
Both looked dumb, bro.
But you do have to kind of suck before you do really good.
Yeah, there's always that cringe moment, man. I listen back to when I go back and listen to my old stuff, I'm being like, dang, man, I sucked, you know? like I was trying. And at that time, I thought I was really good, right? And so you almost got to be like, if you hear it out there, you kind of got to be delusional if you're going to go for that, at least in that sense, in that aspect when it comes to music or a business or a career. You kind of got to go ahead of time and look at that vision and be like, no, I got this. Even though you suck at it, right? But you're like, no, I got this, because along the way, you're just going to learn.
Absolutely. I go back to my first episode, and I'm like, thinking, what the heck was I thinking, man? I thought that I had it in me. Yeah. Man, I definitely did, and you definitely did.
Yeah, but exactly.
Even beyond us.
No, you do. This place is badass, bro. Good job.
I appreciate that. But it's like, even Ed Sheeran, have you heard when he first started singing?
Ed Sheeran.
Dude, he's like, Megan will know some of his songs. What are some of his songs, Megan? Just kidding.
He sounds familiar. I'm sure if I heard a track, I'd know.
He's a singer. He's a rapper, but he was homeless. And now he's like super well known. You should look him up after this. He genuinely has a talent. But when you listen to his first singing, you want to
damn,
never sing again.
That was an Ed Sheeran. Sorry, bro. Man.
I love that. So obviously when did you start to truly sing rap, reggaeton professionally?
To really put effort into it? That started about 2 years ago, year and a half ago. I started really putting focus on it. And what happened between the ages of 16 till now, I had another I guess I had a personal come to Jesus moment at that time. So at the time when I was serving in Christianity, they don't let you, well, it's not like they don't let you. It's like a choice that you make. You're not to listen to music that influences you on the carnal side of things, right? And so I had to separate from that. I had to let that go. But after that, I came back, started working on myself a little bit, had my alone time to figure things out for myself. And then now, for about 2 years, I did it for 2 years. I'm doing it for 2 years, and it's been good so far, man. It's actually been incredible. You don't know until you throw yourself out there, and reality kind of reflects, hey, you're good at this or you're not, and the universe, the people decide, what they think about you. And they're pretty honest. They're very, very honest. They're very bold and honest. And so, it's been
Tell us about that come to Jesus moment for you.
It was a very I want to say it was a supernatural encounter. I want to say it like that. I think that's what kind of transformed me at that moment. And it was just something that happened internally in me, and it made me do a 360, and I wanted to just completely serve after that experience I had. And so I realized, you know what? People need to hear about this, and so I kind of had a change of heart at that time. Instead of being very selfish, I became very selfless, and I just started serving the community, doing outreaches to people, helping people out, the homeless, the drug addicts, young people that were trying to figure out and maximize their potential. So I did that through leadership and lots of training at the church. It was really good. I had to do a lot of work for myself too. but I can't say it was terrible. I think it was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had. And now you just kind of outgrow what you learned there. And so I kind of used a little bit of those skills even here now, you know. It's not like a bad thing. But yeah, it was really good, man. It was good.
Absolutely. Usually speaking, and I say usually because it's not always the case, but there's usually a story before a come to Jesus moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hear more about that if that's the case for you.
Yeah, so I think that's a great topic. At the time, I was 15, 16 at the time. And what happened is that my mother got kicked out of the country, you know, for illegal reasons. So she was here illegally. And so she got kicked out of the country, and we were a family of 2 girls and 2 boys. I was the oldest, and then my father. And so she got kicked out of the country, and it kind of home fell apart financially and stuff like that. And so since she got kicked out, my father was really struggling here, trying to keep my mother fed over there and keeping 4 kids at home fed. And at the time, it was just really hard to just find a stable job for my dad. And so once she got kicked out, that's when we felt that pressure, right? And so my father was the first one that had that come to Jesus moment, because I guess that the philosophy or the idea behind it is if things outside of you, there's pressure, then there's something that you need to fix, and God can fix everything, right? So he had that idea, and that belief system was given to him, and it worked for him. You know, it worked for him, and he had to make a decision. So he took all my siblings with him, and he had to go over there. And I didn't want to go over there because I was already old enough to have a job. And I was like, I can't go over there. And he's like, why not? I'm like, I wouldn't be able to find myself. I'm from Guatemala, by the way. So that's where my mother ended up. And I'm like, I wouldn't be able to find myself over there. I'm like, my English is really good. My Spanish was really choppy at that time. Now I'm learning a lot more now. But so that's what basically brought me to that moment, is that pressure. It was another moment of pressure in my life, and I did not know what to do, because people only do what they know, what they can do at any moment, right? So if they only have a certain amount of information, and that's the best that they can come up with, that's the best that they're going to do, right? And so I only had the best amount of information for me at that time, being that young, was the one that my father gave me, which is, now you need to, you know, this is a calling from God, right? And so that's what put me into that. Yeah. So it was just a moment of a lot of pressure.
So you had 2 sisters, and then a brother, and then you, and then your mom and dad.
Yeah.
Your mom was sent back to Guatemala, and your dad took himself and your siblings to Guatemala, and you stayed?
Yeah, because that was the best thing to do, just because he didn't want my mother to be alone, and so he had to do that. And for a while, I was here by myself. I was still living in my old home, but for a while, it was difficult. It was a couple of months, 4 or 5 months, where there was only running water and electricity. So there was no gas, no nothing, just water and electricity, right? And at that age, I was barely working at a restaurant as a cook, you know. I couldn't get anything better. And so for a while, it almost felt like, you know, you were kind of homeless for a bit, you know. And then so I would just stay in consistent communication with my parents and stuff. And then finally my father came back, and we kind of got together and bailed us out. Before that, though, my friend reached out to me. It was another friend of mine. He's a good brother of mine, and he reached out, and he's like, yo, you know, we got a place to stay for you if you'd like. It's just me and my mom, so why don't you just move in? And luckily he was there, and that was a part of that process.
It's amazing.
And I still, during that whole time, I was serving in the church by then. I was getting really involved, and I was in the worship team. I was one of the youth leaders. I was a mentor in the church. It was really fun. It was a really good experience for me.
Absolutely. Where are your siblings and your mom today, and your dad?
Oh, we're all here now. You know, years later, now we're all here. So my mom came back again, and yeah, they're all doing good now. All of them are pretty much married, you know, so they're doing good. Yeah, so I'm really happy about that. It turned out good.
That's the best part. Being a sibling, you cheer your siblings on. You want them to do good.
Yeah, of course. We all came out of the same litter, you know. No, I love my brothers and sisters. Yeah,
absolutely. And mom, dad's doing good.
Yeah, no, they're together. they were separated for 10 years. So they were living on a long distance relationship for like 10 years. My dad would go visit twice a year for those 10 years. And they're still together. They got that old school, and no matter how bad it is, we're going to stay together, you know? So we were raised properly. It was a good thing.
We need that in this world.
Absolutely. Oh, especially now. We need that. Bad. Bad.
We really do.
Yeah.
That old school love, man. I honestly think that it was lost for a bit, but I genuinely believe it's starting to come back.
Yeah, I think because everyone's getting ass whippings out there right now. So I think it's slowly coming back. If we don't see it in our generation, I think we're going to see it in the next one. But yeah, no, that old school stuff, it works, man. It's not just to look good in front of the community and society. It's a healthy thing for a human, which is your kids. They need the masculine and the female balance at home. They need to see how a healthy father, loves his healthy wife, right? So that if you're a son, you'll be like, okay, so this is how I treat a woman. And if you're a son, you're like, okay, so this is how a woman should treat me. Okay, right? Because if you're a daughter, okay, this is how I should be treated as a man. Like if I get a man, this is how he's supposed to treat me. And this is how I should act as a wife. I should serve, my husband. However you want to put it, right? But they just got to be able to see good examples, and as they grow up with a good balance on the inside. But it seems like we have kind of like a fatherless generation out there right now too. But it is what it is, It's just how things are right now. But I think that the pressure and it's just pressure will put it all back together. Like, okay, we're trying to be rebellious and be like, no, pride. I do my own thing. But how good is it going for you? That's the reality. How good is it going? How do you feel? It doesn't feel good, right? Being overstimulated every day does not feel good for either men and women. And whether they like to admit it or not, it's just gonna run its course, no matter what. It's supposed to run its course. And then we'll see because obviously you bring it up now. It's because it's noticeable now, right? The damage that it's been doing to the world, the planet. And so eventually we'll all wake up and we'll be like, nah, we got to figure it out, We got to be healthier about this stuff.
Absolutely. And people have to make their own choice, right? No matter what, on pen and paper, somebody's trauma will look worse than others, but in reality, it's all perspective. Mm-hmm. Coming into this marriage, I've been married now, don't get mad at me, 6 years, going on 6 years.
Oh yeah.
Going on 7 years. Missed a year. Her parents are divorced. My parents are divorced. Mm-hmm. My parents got divorced when I was going into 7th grade. And her parents got divorced young as well. So what I remember is separate parents. I didn't really learn much. She didn't really learn much.
Yeah.
So we had to come into this relationship and learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And quite frankly, that offered some crazy hardships. Mm-hmm. I was reacting the way I learned from my mom and dad. She was acting the way she was taught from her mom and dad. Mm-hmm. That's not necessarily a good thing because that led to 2 parents' divorces. Mm-hmm. So we really had to reflect as individuals and as a couple to really understand what is working, what isn't working. And thankfully, both of us are willing to drop off what wasn't working.
That's the key, right? Willpower, the willingness to be like, I got to confront myself and I got to kill my ego and be like, okay, well, what is it? And then figure it out, study and figure it out, and then come back together and be like, okay, this is what I learned. And then she'll come back and she'll be like, okay, this is what I learned. All right, let's try this again, And that's how it's supposed to. I don't think there's like a blueprint on how every relationship is supposed to be. Everything's going to turn out the way it's supposed to. But the willingness, what you said, the willingness to try and do it, that's what matters, is the willpower behind both people.
Exactly. It's anything is transformed through awareness. And by the way, it's not necessarily fun to have your spouse say, you really need to work on this.
Yeah.
You got to kill the ego and be like, yeah, you're right.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Because your spouse is the biggest mirror in your life. Uh-huh. They will piss you off more than anyone else. And that's such a beautiful thing. It is such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I love it now. I used to not. Yeah. But I had to let that go.
Yeah.
I want to be told how I can be a better partner.
Yeah.
So that I can be better as a human being myself, but also so I can serve her properly.
Right.
And I mean, there was conversations in there that obviously had to be held. and that willingness to listen and to be heard was necessary for growth. And in turn, you just keep getting better and better over time.
Yeah.
And I agree. There's not one relationship. All relationships should look like X, Y, Z. Like,
Yeah.
there's a couple foundations.
There's foundations, but eventually it's just supposed to turn out the way it's supposed to be.
Absolutely. I love that. Back to your story, though. I'm curious to know. So you didn't have cooling, you didn't have heating in your house when your father took him and his siblings back to Guatemala.
I didn't have that. Then I moved into my friend's house. After that, I started getting. Then my father came back. We got together. I was still serving in the church at the time, and then after that, I just stopped going just because I didn't. I just outgrew what I felt like I learned what I needed to learn. But with that, there was nothing really helping me at the time because it was more personal. It had nothing to do with like, the church or the idea.
Sure.
No, I love that stuff. I love the ideas that we as humans try to bring in to help us make us better people, to reach enlightenment. That's the goal, like I think of everyone at heart. After that, I just realized, it wasn't for me. So I kind of stepped away, and then I started doing my own thing and try to figure myself out for a little bit. And then I had a moment of, I think that's where, as any businessman, any person that's trying to figure out their potential and maximize their potential, figure it out and find a vision or what the idea of purpose, every person that I think that I've noticed that we all have in common is a moment of pressure in the heart, like a heartbreak, but not through just relationship. It could be through family relationship. It could be through a relationship through a community. It could be through your relationship with yourself financially, or something could be going wrong and you're like, I need to figure it out, right? And so I had that moment. For me, it was the accumulation of all of that, not being able to figure it out even through the church or nothing. So I got to a point where I had to admit, all right, this stuff isn't working for me, right? None of what I'm trying to do is working for me. And I got to a point where I just said, okay, I need to be alone. I need to just sit here with my thoughts, because I was sick of it, right? I was sick of running away from fear, which is in you. And it's just and now I'm about to open into what I think it is. It's so funny. It's just so minor. We think it's this huge thing that we got a problem with. It's like so scary to sit alone with your thoughts. And that's what hit me, is that I sat alone. I remember in my studio, I already had my musical studio at home, and I sat there and I was like, all right, so what is it? And then I felt my emotions, right? And then I started scrolling through YouTube, and that's what I still do that till this day. I always like to confront myself. So I'll ask myself, why am I feeling this way? It's just very basic. Why do I feel this way? And then I'll put anxiety or something, and it'll give me a list. And then I look through a mentor or a coach, a life coach that I resonate with. Oh, this guy's speaking to me. This is what's going on in me. And it led me to a influencer. His name is Aaron Dottie, and he had a guided meditation. And so in Christianity, we're taught not to meditate because it'll open your third eye, and so I always came in with the idea of like, I shouldn't do that, right? But no, I tried it. It was a guided meditation, and it was a guided meditation on detachment. And that was the first time I sat there, and he led me through it, and through his guiding and his, as he's telling me what to do through the meditation, he taught me how to detach from that feeling that I had at the moment. It was like anxiety. It was like sadness, anger. And so he taught me to detach. And when he did that, and I sat there and I meditated, it was like a 15-minute guided meditation. Oh man, like it was incredible. Like I felt like bliss before, but this was a relief, like a relief, it was just a huge relief. And I was like, this is what I was looking for. This is the answer. And it's funny because I've had different shapes and forms of that style. Like we used to do that at the church where we called it inner healing and deliverance and things of that nature. Like it was like a form of trying to detach. But the way that this was done, it was done in a way that it was just very intimate and personal. And so as soon as I went through that, I started looking even deeper, and I became like my own personal therapist for myself. And so ultimately I just learned that it's okay. Like if you're going to feel angry, if you're going to feel sad, if you're going to feel lonely, if you're going to feel happy, if you're going to feel ecstasy, if you're going to feel bliss, feel them, but let them go. and move on to the next thing, because you should live in the moment presently, right? And living in the moment means experiencing this, enjoying what you're doing now, and then detaching as soon as it's done, go to the next thing. You're a human here on earth with physical senses that should experience stuff, but you can't attach to it, because when you die, you can't take it with you, right? So you become alive once you're in the moment, experiencing everything you're experiencing, and then you're letting it go. That's when you're actually alive. But when you're holding on to things, and say we get we hit 1 million views, right, on this or something like that, and then after we post it and we're still living off that feeling, it's not going to last too long in you to be happy, right? And so you're going to chase the high again, and then you become addicted to, and then you just restarted a cycle again. So it's being very aware of what you feel at the moment and how you just detach and let go. And so I learned that through that, and I started getting into just more details about, okay, what is depression? Where does that come from? Healing the inner child, all that stuff. And I started healing and detaching and letting go. I got to the point where I even had to let go of the idea of a belief system, which in this case was God and Christianity. By the way, I love all that stuff. I'm not against it. I actually support it. I think it's good, because I understand that we all go through phases and cycles and growth, right? One thing will always teach you to the next. So I think I support that. Keep doing that, keep helping people, that to some people, going to church and serving on a Sunday will keep them away from indulging in a bottle of alcohol because they feel lonely and doing something stupid on a Sunday, right? So one good addiction is not as bad as a bad addiction, right? So no, I support it. But after that, I just kept detaching. I think one of the biggest ones was the idea of God and things like that. And then the other one was the fear of death, right? The mother of all fear is death. So if you can understand that we're all going to come to an end, and that, yes, we don't know what happens after, right? Because we don't know, and being okay with that. So then you start living at that moment. You're like, okay, I only got 40, 50 years left. What am I going to do? And that's where the beautiful thing starts, because you're like, I can do this. I'm living in the age of technology right now. What can I do with the stuff that has been given to me at this moment, right? I got access to a phone that I can have access to the whole world. So I can do this. And if you love it enough, right, and you stay consistent with it, and it'll happen. Something will happen for you. But the point is that it doesn't even have to be through social media. You can be a small business owner at a restaurant. You can be a business owner in construction. You can just be a doctor if that's what you love to do, right? But you start living after you let go of everything and understand that we're all coming to an end, that I'm not going to take the t-shirt when I die. I'm not going to take my dog when I die. I'm not going to take my home when I die. And this is going to be consciousness, what we think consciousness is.
Absolutely. And as you're talking about detachment, this is where it's very clear to me, and I love your messaging around this. Detachment from good and bad.
Yes, non-duality.
Because most people think, oh, I just need to detach from the bad thoughts, the bad emotions, the bad people, the bad habits, the bad addictions, the haters of the world. No, if you rely on the good comments, the good accomplishments, the good anything, naturally you will be attached to the bad.
Yeah.
That's like period.
Because it's both the same thing. It's all a feeling, right? We're all humans. Every experience has a chemical basis to it. Every experience. So if you're not careful, you're not aware of what I just said. Like, what does that mean? It means that if I touch this, it gives a certain comfort. Me and you don't like waking up early, right? Because we like the comfort of the bed, the experience of the bed. So that can become a problem, if you don't, like, nope, I got to get up. The body doesn't know it has a brain, and the brain knows it has a body. So the body will keep telling the brain, no, this feels good. But the brain is going to be like, yeah, but we got to get that money. We got to pay bills, right? So you got to kick the ego aside, kick the body aside, and be like, no, you can't be that heavy on me. We got to get up. you know. The body doesn't know any better. The brain does, though. The body doesn't know it needs food in like 3 hours, right? But you do. Your brain does, right? So the body's always going to try and do it's just always going to seek pleasure.
Absolutely. Or, I mean, to like bring everything you just said, we said, into a basic, essentially statement is the fact that humans are meaning-making machines.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you experience through this world, yourself, what you touch, you will attach a meaning to it.
Mm-hmm. And you put an idea behind it. Yeah.
And that can be serving or non-serving. We talk about good and bad, and people understand that. But in reality, it comes down to, is it serving you or is it not serving you? Mm-hmm. Right? We have the bed analogy. Sleeping in, I think it's fair to say everybody enjoys that once.
Mm-hmm.
But on a day-to-day basis, is it serving or is it non-serving?
Mm-hmm.
To us, it feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
Is it serving or non-serving? And when you bring it down even to that deeper level of serving to non-serving, you really start to get a good understanding of, okay, I like this bad habit. I like it a lot. So in your mind, the meaning that you have attached to it is that it's good. But when you ask, is this serving or non-serving?
It's really
you get down
reality.
to the roots.
Reality hits you because you're living here, right? You're just living. You're not even going past the body. You're kind of living in it. And so that's when reality hits you, or debt hits you, or the spouse leaves you, or your friendships leave you because you're living in here. And you're like, oh, damn. And then that's when life knocks you. And that's where you have that moment of pressure because life keeps doing that too. It's like you keep repeating the same cycle, right? And then eventually you're like, okay, this sucks. What do I need to do? Yeah, man. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So you obviously had a moment in your life where you realized things weren't working for you. What were you experiencing at that time? What were the emotions? What was your situation like where you're like, nah, this isn't working anymore?
At that time, it was a mix of a lot of things, and I just realized it was a mix of a lot of things. So sometimes that's why you go through, when you're alone, I mean, you go through a lot of pressure, right, by yourself. And it's just a mixture of all these feelings in one. And so the body doesn't know how to describe it, so it does what it does. It makes you feel just overwhelmed. You feel exhausted. You feel tired. You're going because the body can keep going because it's strong. The human body is pretty powerful. It could keep going. But the thing is that you're not feeling good on the inside the whole time. You're just kind of, you're irritated, you know. Irritation means like, it's like when the oxes that have those neck things where they plow and they have like this wooden piece around their neck. Irritation is that it's gnawing at you. And sometimes their necks are bloody until they die, right? And so that's irritation. So you feel irritated. You can keep going until it just kills you. So it was like that. It was a very deep, profound irritation that I didn't know I had. But that's the thing, you didn't know that because you don't know that information. Because this stuff isn't taught in school. You know, none of this stuff is really taught in school. You kind of have to, they just teach you how to be a battery at school, right? Just not work, get a degree, and that's good. I mean, that keeps us comfortable. It gave us technology. It gives us homes. Engineers help us out. Astronauts help us out. Scientists help us out. Doctors help us out, right? It's all good. They're all comfort things, right, that we need. But it put us in a where we're at now. So there's like, it would go back to duality, right? There's no good and evil. It's just things just are. You know, if you hear that even in biblical terms, this deity speaks about I am, is, we are, or, you know, because things just, they are the way they are, right? And so even though we have all these comforts that kind of lead us to this point where we're at now as a human society, where we're all under like chaos on the inside, we needed all that to, if you find peace, then you had to go through all that to find peace, right? So you got to be thankful for that regardless. But it's just the way it had to be. It's just is what it is. And that's okay.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like, I like to give this example. Like, I was driving here, right? And then there was snow out of nowhere. And I had to drive really slow, right? And so I could either make two decisions. I could be upset at it, or I could just do what I need to do because it just is. If I choose to be mad at it, then going back into the animal mode in me where I want to control an outcome. We have no control over an outcome, right? And so when you go back to those biblical terms or those terms that you find in Buddhism or in Hinduism, it's just is. Whatever you make it, however you interpret that experience, it's a reflecting of you, of what your condition is. And then you gotta be honest.
You attached to
it. You gotta be honest with yourself. And the more honest you are, see that it goes one with the other. The more honest you are with yourself, even if you don't like it, it's gonna set you free though, because you're gonna be okay. Like, I'll just drive home. I give you a call and like, no, you're cool, bro. I'm like, all right, I'm just driving home. I could have had a horrible experience if I decided that, right? But it goes back to information. You're only as good as what you know. You're only gonna act as much as you know. If you don't know any better, then you won't know any better. We'll just do.
Absolutely. And that's where we have to start to look within. What is serving me? What is not serving me?
Yeah.
Start to transform this.
And the other question that comes out of this too, to some people is like, well, then what am I supposed to do? Am I Mr. Perfect? No, I'm not perfect. No, man, no. Like I'll get up late in the morning, it's a human experience. All these things are never going to leave you. You just got to have a dance with you on the inside, with the mind and the body, having an okay dance with it. You're going to feel it. Sometimes you're going to step on some toes when you're dancing with someone, right? If your emotions are out of control for a little bit, but the point is that you know how to get out of it. And the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Absolutely.
And then, okay, so what am I supposed to do with all this info now? Like, okay, you're telling me that you became an artist, and so what's the outcome? Like, why did you do it, right? So we're gonna get into why these are just personal thoughts. And okay, if you want to be a businessman, and okay, what's the drive behind it? Some people are trying to run away from their own feelings. Some people are trying to prove something. Some people are trying to get over heartbreak. Whatever the reason, that's good. That's a start. But I'm at a point where it's like,
can I ask a really quick question?
Yeah.
More because I'm curious and I love where we're going. You mentioned the irritation of the ox. Like, you had that wooden.
Yeah.
Are you aware now of what, I don't know whether you were running away from something, trying to heal from something. Like, what was that wooden thing around your neck for so long?
It's just the not being able to understand myself, like on the inside, it's the lack of, okay, our emotions are okay? Are they bad? What are they? And so I started asking myself, I was like, okay, well, what were emotions before we called them emotions? Yeah. So then you ask yourself, okay, what were they? We gave them a name. Okay, because this doesn't go your way, we're going to call it anxiety. And then anxiety is there, right? And what is the meaning of anxiety according to the community? It's a bad thing. It's labeled as a bad thing, right? You shouldn't have anxiety. And then so you go to the doctor, oh, you don't got anxiety. And they get a paycheck out of you. You're still in it, but they don't tell you how to work on it, right? So yeah. So this is deep stuff. Like, yeah, I asked myself, okay, what was anxiety before you call it anxiety? It's just there. So we're going to use the Bible as an analogy, right? We're going to use Adam and Eve. Adam would, before Eve came into the picture, Adam was just walking alone, and he was just experiencing stuff. He didn't know what anxiety, anger, and sadness was because it's not mentioned in there, right? Until after the fall of man, right? So it's all there. You just have to read it as it is, not pull things out of it and make another story out of it. It's just what it is. So he's like, no, the reality is, I asked myself, I'm like, okay, what were emotions? What was anger before it was called anger? It was just there. And so we labeled it as anger because something wasn't going my way. Because we felt entitled. So the human ego kicked in because we have intelligence. So we're actually struggling with our own intelligence. And instead of just letting things be, because you are, and whatever it is, you're just going to become.
That's fair. So what I'm hearing from you when you say that is, you were essentially struggling with your emotions.
Yeah, I didn't know what they really were.
You were struggling with your situation with the parent situation, which you were struggling with being alone. You were struggling with maybe things not going your way, and it was just this combination
There's
of
a combination
emotions.
of a lot of things,
And in turn, you started to look within.
But it made me, that made me destructive. You know, it made me really destructive. So that's the dangers of that, is that you just become destructive to yourself, to the people around you. And you don't know, because you don't know that your emotions are out of control. So you just don't know either on the outside. It's just going to reflect.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And so your first step was, did you leave Christianity, then have your meditation, or did you start meditating and start looking outwards and within yourself before you left?
It was after I left, because even though I was serving, I still wasn't feeling I was just still out of control on the inside, even though I was trying to do good.
Which was a good thing.
Yeah,
It was a good thing. You were serving.
At the time.
And I'm sure it still served you in the moment. You helped that homeless person.
Yeah, because, I mean, even after I left, I had an idea of what meditation was, and it's just, sitting there with your thoughts. So that I kind of already learned from the church. So you have to learn certain things on one phase to kind of go to the next, right?
Absolutely.
And so even though I came out of that, I still took some skills into my new phase of life. And so that's what actually helped me confront myself. I just sat there and I was like, okay, what's going on? And it was just the emotions, that's all it was. It was just emotions of not being able to understand them and listen to them, just ignore them. And it's everywhere, man. It's not just, I think I open up about it just because I'm like, no, I mean, I'd like for people to hear about it. I think it's important. I wanted to do that. Now as an artist, I'm doing other things on the side, but one of them was definitely helping, giving free access to this knowledge, on how to actually heal so that you can focus. Because when you're like that, you can't focus. You're just in a compulsive state of reaction. You're just going for the next hit, like a drug addict, right? And you don't know that you're addicted, So those deep feelings, it's like if you're not able to focus, you can't be successful, because to be successful is just a repetition of many things all the time.
Absolutely.
And if you're just pleasure seeking, you just can't be successful, because you're putting energy this way, this way, instead of it being that way.
Yeah, you hit on a very valuable point, and that's that you took lessons with you.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, and talk about emotions that people really struggle with is, well, I can't leave my career that I've been in for 10 years. Well, I have to work in the career that I got a degree in because I put in 5 years. It's like, no. Take it with you.
You can take it with you.
Life has seasons of life. That's just reality. We talked about this before the podcast. We're talking about it now. Life has seasons. And that's okay, because it quite frankly makes you stronger in your next season. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
So you started meditating, started looking at emotions. I love that you've talked about detachment. I love the fact that you started actually questioning, like, what was anxiety before anxiety?
Mm-hmm.
What was depression before depression?
It's just titles that we think we fancy it. It's a way to communicate as humans, right? This is what you feel. This is how we're going to communicate it, right? But really, if you look back at it, and when we didn't know how to communicate, things just happened and we looked at it. We didn't feel entitled to keep it. So we were like, it's okay.
Absolutely.
And then now, this is my seat because I bought it. But what's going to happen when you die? It's not yours no more. So it wasn't yours to begin with. So the whole point of life is letting go. Life isn't about giving. It's about detaching, letting go. So if you go about it by giving, then you feel entitled to it. You feel like a sense of control. And you can't control life. If life is going to do what it's supposed to do.
The thought process that came to mind is, it's almost like you're playing tug of war, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on that end, you can't really control the people on that end.
Mm-hmm.
And those people are the situations that come out of nowhere. It's the job, it's the economy. It's like, and everything you cannot control is on that side.
Mm-hmm.
As you're holding, most people, even though the rope will start pulling out of their hands and it'll start to hurt, burn, maybe even make your hands bleed, they just keep holding.
Yeah.
It's like anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
this feels good, but it doesn't.
But it doesn't, right?
Depression. Oh, this feels good, but why am I holding on?
Yeah.
Let go.
Yeah, let go.
Oh, you're having anxiety. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're experiencing depression. That's okay. Oh, you're angry. That's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, these emotions, we talk about the good and bad, right? Are they good or bad? Or is that just what they're actually serving and not serving?
Yeah.
Every emotion has a serving energy and a non-serving energy. Yeah. Are you using your emotions to serve you?
Yeah.
It's okay to actually feel all the things that we just talked about.
Yeah. We're humans. We're people. Those that say, "Oh, I don't feel anything. I'm cold." You're cold. You're telling me you feel something, bro. Like, come on, bro. Like, you're living off of every experience has a chemical basis to it. Whether you think I feel nothing is something.
Yeah, it's
because you're alive. You're physically moving. You're feeling something as you walk, man.
It's psychology 101.
Yeah, it's very basic. But, you know, we like to be humans. We like to market ourselves. We're a label. We like to be branding ourselves all the time. So this is what I represent. So I'm going to push for this, right? And so everyone, like I said, the basis of all this is not to be like, oh, so, you know, you're Mr. Perfect. No, I'm just saying, like, you want to live a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more organized.
Yeah.
Try this out, you know? It's just the way I look at it. So
psychology 101 is that a situation takes place in your life, creating thoughts, creating emotions, creating a behavior, creating a result. And it's just an endless cycle until you stop it to create a new cycle. But the new cycle is still going to have thoughts, still going to have emotions, still going to have behaviors attached to it. You just get to choose the cycle that you live in.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Because eventually, like, you either learn from it or you don't, and you go on the way. And then eventually it's either going to hit you when you're going to be on your deathbed, or you're going to feel really happy about it, you know? And so, yeah, none of it's wrong. No, I mean, I still like to jam out and have fun because I like to have human experiences. That's what we're here for, right? It's just the point is that if you are aware, then do what you feel is good for people that you're thinking, I can help in this area. I can be value to the community in this area because I'm aware. Then take that responsibility. If you're aware, take that responsibility of what you need to do.
Absolutely.
It's simple. You know, it doesn't have to be good or bad because there is no good or bad. There's just, I like how Sadhguru says, I like listening to that gentleman. He's like, there's only miserable people and there's just joyful people. Everything else is just there. All right? That we oscillate between those two. I wake up cranky because I didn't eat enough the night before or something. Oh, you're miserable for a second. But then you become joyful after you have your breakfast. And you're just there. And you just are. It's simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. So was there anything else that you did to truly transform your life to become the true version of yourself you are today?
It's just more understanding why you do it, right? If you do it, don't do it because if you get started on it and you learn the song along the way, it doesn't matter as long as you learn it, right? And even if you don't, it's okay. Eventually it's going to come to you, I think. And so it's, for example, my little brother asked me once, he's like, so why are you doing music? You're doing it for attention, right? And so this goes back to every entrepreneur or every leader that's trying to become, you know, a mastermind in their own ethnos or their area of expertise or whatever they're trying to sell or do. I told him, I'm like, no, I do it because, see, remember we talked about an ego death that I had, right? So I realized, no, this isn't my identity. Noise is just noise, right? It's the label of what I show off to the brand. It's a brand that I show off to the public because I have a music career that I want to do. But it's not who I am. It's just the idea because we live in the age of technology and I'm taking advantage of my phone. I'm taking advantage of Casey doing my music videos. I'm taking advantage of Jay Lopez that's mixing and mastering my stuff because we live in the age of technology and I'm using that to my advantage now so I could put it out there because I like to sing. I'm a human being that likes to sing. If I was living in the Stone Age, then I'd be like, oonga, 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 on top of some stone somewhere because I have no technology. I round out 3 monkeys or something, and they're my crowd, they're my fans, right? But we're not living in the age of the Stone Age, right? We're living in the age of technology. So I'm going to take that right now because I'm alive in this age. I don't know what we're going to be in 20, 30 years from now. Probably some Star Wars universe type of thing. And then there's another age where you could take advantage of that market that is available for you at that time. So if for you, if you ask me like, okay, well, what is it? It's simple. If you could learn that, then the process is easier. So when I started learning, okay, I'm a human being. What do I want to do? And then I went back before society taught me stuff. And I was like, okay, I like to sing. I'm just a human that likes to sing. So what can I do? Well, let's play the game. Let's play the Matrix game. And I'm going to be Neo, right? So I'm going to learn how the system works. I'm going to learn what marketing is. I'm going to learn how to establish good relationships with the people around me so I can get good businessmen or good creators like Casey. He's great at videos and marketing and acting. And so I'm like, hey man, you want to do this together? He's like, yeah. So I established a connection with my social skills, right, that I learned. And I'm like, okay, you're good at that. You're passionate at that. Let's be a team. Grab my engineer, my producer. You're good at that. I know how to talk. We can bond together. We can network. And now we're all like a crew that really have known each other for years now, where we have good chemistry when we work together, and they're masterminds in their own way. I know how to sing, and I like to sing and write, and I don't mind looking goofy in public. So you guys don't like it, but I'm good at it. So let's do what I'm good at, and then you can do what you're good at, and then bring it all together, and pow, you got yourself a business going, right? And so, but the point is knowing that you're human, that you're liking to do, you like to do what you do because this is what you do. And that's still not your identity. You just like doing it. And then after that, you start to learn how to actually enjoy the process because you've already done it. You're doing it. I'm already doing it. It's like Dr. Dre was Dr. Dre before he became Dr. Dre as what we see now as Dr. Dre. He was already that person. We just are like, whoa, because he's a millionaire, whoa, so we get impacted by that, right? But the reality, he was always that guy before that. So if you can get to that point and experience that in the body, it's like asking yourself, this was another one, asking yourself, what would you do if you had everything in the world that you asked for? What do you do after that? Whether if it's money, whether if it's the mansion, whether if it's the Lamborghini, whether if it's Bora Bora vacation, whether if it's all the ladies, whether if it's all the guys, like whatever. If you had everything that you ever asked for, what after that?
That's exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, do it now, so that by the time you get there, it's not a struggle for you. Then you don't have to go through all this work. So we got famous people committing suicide and stuff like that, is because they never asked themselves. They thought that's the thing that's going to make me happy or free or set me free. No, it's knowing that you're human, doing what you want to do because you like it and that's what you do. Take advantage of the system, and then you're going to do things that are out of the ordinary, and people are going to think you're weird, man. Like Neo in the Matrix, he flies. Everyone else can't fly, but he can, right? So you're doing the crazy stuff that average people don't like to do because you're actually enjoying the process.
That's a reality, man, right there. I mean, the one thing that I'll add to this is obviously millionaire, whatever status. There's literally millionaires in every industry that you can think of.
Yeah.
In this water bottle, in this diffuser, and every single thing in this room, there's millionaires in every single industry.
Mm-hmm.
Just do what the heck you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Become your best self.
Mm-hmm.
Look at your emotions. Start to really develop the person that you want to be. And then naturally start to do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, you're going to look back and think, man, I'm living my dream right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you don't get to the celebrity status and want to kill yourself.
Yeah, you don't want to get there, bro.
You're doing what you want to do.
Exactly. You're not doing it because you're still living off of emotions, right? You're just doing it because you realized, I'm alive. I'm a person. I can do whatever I want. Even though they told me to go to school or do this and do that or else I'm going to die. No, you can do whatever it is you want. Just be smart about it. Are you good at it? Yeah, I'm good. All right, then try it out. Can you make money off of it? Yeah, all right, try it out. Play the game. If you can't, be honest with yourself. If you sound horrible, be there to confront yourself. Whatever it is you do. If it's not working, it's not working, bro. Try something else, but you won't know until you do it.
Exactly. Your purpose is a compilation of what are you naturally good at?
Mm-hmm.
Do you love what you do? And can you make money?
Yeah.
And if you do it, you just found what you need to be doing.
Yeah, and that's it if you want to play the game, right?
And it might take 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
But do you want to, for my experience, I'm 25. Do I want to get to 35 and not be doing what I'm doing, even if it took 10 years? Or do I just want to be okay with the journey, enjoy the present, and maybe make some sacrifices to get to the future?
And it doesn't have to be, everyone has like this idea that, oh, I want to be the millionaire or something like that. No, it's like, you don't even have to go do that. You can have your family at home and experience your family there and just have a chill job. And you're just a freaking badass dude. And you're just that cool guy, you know, and you can enjoy that too. Life isn't always about money and stuff like that either. It's about just really having an experience with what you got.
Absolutely. Money it
comes and goes.
An amplifier.
Yeah.
It's literally, a lot of people think that I call them vehicle values and core values. A lot of people believe that money's a core value, and it's not. It never is. It's a vehicle to get you to your core values.
It's a tool. It's just a tool.
It's just a tool. And so don't chase something. Don't chase a vehicle value sacrificing your core values. Because we talk about the celebrities that end up wanting to kill themselves or do. And if you get there, fine. But don't take your own life, because you deserve to be here and embrace the joys of life.
Yeah, the problem with that is I think that when people do that is that they've met their goals, they're financially stable and stuff, but then peace starts setting in. Peace, and I mean like peace, because you're good, you did it. But peace, silence, that's where I tell you, like, that's what got me into this. Like, I sat alone. So when peace gets you and they don't know that stuff, they're like, well, I did it all. And that thing is going to torment you. I did it all and I'm still feeling this way. That's what kills you.
Exactly.
Is that you finally get there and peace sets in and you don't know what to do with peace.
And that's where, look at your core values. Like, what do you truly value? And then how do you
I thought you liked it. Peace is going to be like, I thought you liked this, man. I thought this is where you wanted to be. And it's just peace is chill. Peace is cool. But sometimes we're afraid of that. And so we're running away.
Absolutely. Man, I could talk to you all day. I have one more curious question.
Yeah.
What inspired the stage name Noise?
Oh, okay. So Noise came out of one of my favorite artists growing up when I was 16. His name is Zion. That he had they were a duo, Zion and Lennox, and I just liked his singing a lot. He was the only reggaeton artist that had melody behind his team. Everyone else was kind of more rapping, but he was the only one that implemented the melodies behind reggaeton. And so I personally like that, and I just did his name backwards. So his is Zion and mine is Noiz. And so I'm like, he's my favorite. I'm just going to flip it backwards and it looks cool. So
Let's go. Yeah. Sometimes the best things in this world are stolen. That's just the reality.
I stole it, bro.
Well, the reality is,
proud, bro. I will.
That's how I started.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily like I copied somebody's name. No, I was just gifted Braiden Belnap from my parents.
Yeah.
But coaching, it's not like I whipped out a book and wrote a book overnight. It was like, this is mine. No, I went out and I learned from different life coaches, different speakers, listening to artists like yourself and their stories. Then I took all the things and I made it my own.
Yeah. No, it's good. We all start there. What I do now is based off of I like Sadhguru, Dr. Miles Monroe, Aaron Dottie, oh man, so many great leaders of that I learned from that. I took all their information and put it to practice. And
exactly.
And now I'm here.
That's the reality, man.
Yeah.
Well, as we come to a close, I have a couple quick questions for you, man. Thanks so much for coming on, too.
Thank you for having me here, man.
You've been amazing. I'm so glad we connected, by the way.
Hell yeah, dude.
First question is, what is your definition of an authentic life?
My definition of an authentic life is doing what you know you want to do. Just be with you. Like it's internal for everyone. So I wouldn't be able to be like, I think this is what it is, because I don't want to give someone structure. I think it's more do what you think at that moment is good. And if it doesn't make you feel good, figure out why. And then keep doing that and confront yourself. And that's what the definition of what your life is. Because life is life, right? Everywhere, but your life too. So you could do whatever you want.
That's the reality, man.
Yeah. Your life.
Live by your word.
Live by what you want to do.
You will never destroy yourself by what somebody else says to you. You'll only ever destroy or build your life based upon what you say to you.
Mm-hmm.
You can never, we go back to the attachment, right? Somebody can give you good things. You're never going to build your life off of that. Somebody could tell you bad things. You're never going to build your life off of that. It's all comes based upon what you say to you and your experience and what you actually do with that. Anyways, we could talk about all of this on another podcast. We'll have you on again, I'm sure, sometime.
Hell yeah, dude.
And then my other question is if there was one last thing you could leave with the audience, say, what would that be?
I would say, keep working, keep grinding. We're all doing what we're supposed to do. For my fans, thank you guys, Muchas gracias, mi gente. And then, yeah, man, I think I'm just thankful that at least for myself in the area that I'm in and with my music, I'm thankful for myself for being able to push myself, but with everyone else now, even including you, thank you, thank you for having me here. And I'm just thankful for everyone's help, their support.
And if there was anything that me or the audience could do for you today, what would that be?
Nothing, man. Just keep hitting that like and that share.
Nothing. But make sure to do this.
Keep helping me out, guys. We're doing it.
Good deal, man.
I'll make y'all proud, I promise.
Thanks so much for coming on again, man. Thanks so much for joining into the Journey to Authenticity podcast today. If you liked what both myself and Jonathan had to say, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. This helps me to get the most interesting and qualified guests to help you transform your life. Also, why have you here? If you're in a position that you're really ready to transform, really harness your ability to go create that vision for life, become your true self, and you just want that extra support to help you get there, overcome your limiting beliefs and helping you really let go, then go to the link below or braidenbelnap.com and we can jump into your one-on-one coaching journey together. With that in mind, have a good one, everybody.